welcome back. Today we're going to freeze dry milk and lasagna. I've got the freeze dryer on, and we got a little over 4 minutes for it to warm up, and then we will put everything in and get it started. Let's go take a look at the milk and the lasagna. So what you want to do before you freeze dry milk is you want to freeze it in baggies. Mine turned out kind of clumpy, and that's because you need to, make sure that the bags are laying flat, but this is okay. It'll still work just as well. Let's go look at the other ones. All right, here's a second one of a Ziploc baggie that I opened, and it's a little bit flatter than the other one, but it's okay, it'll still freeze dry. And there's a clump that fell off because it's starting to defrost a little bit, but it'll all just turn out fine. But it is recommended to make sure when you freeze your stuff that they are laying completely flat. And my freezer did not really have a way to lay everything flat to get everything to spread out. But again, like I said, it's okay. It'll still freeze dry. And here's some leftover lasagna. I froze it, and I'm gonna freeze dry it. And all you got to do is, after it's freeze dried and you want to eat it, it's just like having freeze dried food. You just got to put some water on it to rehydrate it. So, all right, let's go ahead and put these in the freeze dryer, and it's going to probably take 24 hours for them to freeze. All right, so the fifth tray, I'm going to freeze dry some diced up sweet potatoes. So we will have 5 trays going into the freeze dryer. These have been frozen as well. You don't have to freeze everything, but liquids, yeah, you want to do that to avoid spillage. But most of the things you don't have to, but it does speed up the process if you do freeze everything in the freezer first. I've got all the trays loaded in there. This is probably going to take 24 hours to do, so. All right, guys. Well, the freeze-dried milk is ready, and all the other things I put in the freeze dryer, and it did take about 24 hours. So this is the powdered milk. I'm going to break it up so that it's powdery, and I'm gonna put them in some Mylar bags, Harvest Right Mylar bags. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and break this up and get them in the bags. I'm gonna put oxygen absorbers in there, and we're gonna seal them. All right, we got the lasagna in the bag. This is 1 serving, and I put an oxygen absorber in there. And so the next thing we're gonna do is seal it. All right, I've got the lasagna. I had 2 servings. I put 1 in each Mylar bag, and I dated it. The next thing we're gonna move on to is the freeze-dried sweet potatoes. All right, so I've got the sweet potatoes bagged up with the oxygen absorber in there, and I'm going to go ahead and seal this one up too, and date it, and also mark what's in the Mylar bag. This was 2 frozen pack of diced sweet potatoes. All right, so I've got the lasagna and the sweet potatoes bagged up, dated. Come to find out, the freeze-dried milk was not quite ready, so I'm going to have to run it back through another cycle. And I did some research, and normally that's what is going to have to happen. It was still kind of wet and sticky, so I believe one more round in the freeze dryer and it should be good to go, and then I can package it up as well. Now I wanted to tell you that with this freeze dryer that I got many years ago, back during COVID, what you can also do is freeze dry your leftovers. For example, like the lasagna here. And so that's what I do. And if I've got some stuff in the freezer, like some frozen vegetables, I do that as well. I do not freeze dry raw meat. I always cook it first and do that. So you can't freeze dry bread. What else? Or fats. So, and the milk that I freeze dried was 1/2 gallon of organic whole milk. So that will freeze dry, but if you've got anything that's very greasy, it's not going to freeze dry. So, and I also take these packages and I put them in 5-gallon food grade buckets. I've got a bunch of buckets laying around here that had, and this, y'all might not think this sounds too good of an idea, but actually it is. The buckets that the cat litter comes in, clean those out when they're empty. You can use those to store your freeze-dry food in. So it's as good as the 5-gallon food grade buckets. So just I believe in recycling anything and not throwing anything away. And you know, we got to pinch pennies with the way this economy is and with inflation the way it is. So I hope these tips on storing food and preserving it comes in handy. And I'm gonna go ahead and sign off and put the milk, freeze-dry milk, I'm gonna put it back in the freezer, let it freeze up a little bit, then stick it back in the freeze dryer, and maybe even add some more vegetables as well, because it holds up to 5 trays. All right, thank you for watching, and make sure you give a thumbs up and you share it and subscribe. It really helps out my channel. So thanks. See you next time here in the countryside. All right, I put the freeze-dried milk back on the freeze-dry tray, and I'm gonna pop it back into the refrigerator freezer and freeze it, and then once it's frozen, I'm gonna put it back through the cycle one more time, and then we should be good to go. The reason why I'm saying it's not ready is because I noticed that the clumps inside of them are still wet. So you want everything to be thoroughly freeze-dried before you store it. Otherwise, it'll go bad and it'll mold. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish freezing this, and we'll do another cycle. Then it should be ready to go. Okay, so this is the sealer. I just put the bag up here, and then we shut it. We push the handle down right here, and you'll hear it click on when it's ready and when it's sealed. So, and it also has a setting on it. You can put it on low, medium, or high. So that's the sealer that came with the freeze dryer. It was a kit. All right, so this is the bucket that I have that I'm storing stuff in. I just put the lasagna in the bucket, and like I said, I don't let anything go to waste. I pinch pennies. I live on a budget, and so I am reusing these totes, these buckets that cat litter came in. They got cleaned out really good, and I'm storing the freeze-dry food that I freeze dry in there.